Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Wednesday, the 22nd of March, comes to you from London. And boy, what a difference a day makes. Interestingly, the dollar has been really the thing that's been moving lower over the last few days, and we've ever since the Fed announcement, and we're now just teetering on this support level. Now, remember the Dow theory. The important thing here is, do we make a lower low? And at the moment we're testing support, and just like failure to make a new high is like a lower high, failure to make a new low is like a lower low, is like a higher low. So the interesting thing here is, unless we go lower than this level that we saw back in early February, around 99.50, 99.60 on the dollar index, we're at 99.85. We need a few days closing below that level to suddenly be in territory where we've made a lower low. So for the moment, we might just be finding support, and we need to watch this very carefully. Look out for any reversals in the short-term charts, the 1-minute charts, and take a look for any move back above the cloud. And we still have the picture of being bullish in the long term, so that hasn't yet turned bearish. But the interesting thing is this dollar weakness is having its effect. Equally, the euro is starting to hit resistance. The reverse is true here. Again, taking out that high that we saw in February, will we make a higher high, is the thing to watch for. At the moment, there's strong resistance at about 108. Just keep an eye on that. We're at 107.85. Japanese yen also going lower. We see here on the chart we're in a downtrend, the yen strengthening, dollar weakening, so that's also an effect. Sterling's had a pretty amazing run the last few days, both on the Fed announcement and inflation figures. We're just getting back above the cloud on the short term, but you can see here again, structurally, we're some way from making a higher low, higher high on the weekly. So for the moment, until we start seeing higher highs and negating some of these downside targets, this might just be still a change in the short-term trend. Just keep an eye on any pullback down through that trend. Remember, counter trend moves tend to be shorter lived. Looking at euro sterling, we're seeing the euro improve here against sterling improve against the euro as well. Sterling Swiss, much the same, holding the gains that we've seen recently. And Australian dollar really falling quite strongly here. So the sterling rate there undergoing quite a dramatic change as well. The S&P 500 index last night turned bearish in the short term. So we've seen this move, failure to make a new high above that high at the start of March, just starting to come off. Quite a big down day there yesterday, and that's giving us a down week for the first time in several weeks. But inevitably, we will see changes in the short-term trends. We've got downside targets. The key thing is, will we undo these upside targets? At the moment, the medium and long-term trends are still in train. We're just undergoing some short-term weakness. The same is true of the Nasdaq. Is this the top of the market? Big down day there. You do get these big counter trend moves quite often, very sharp and sudden. It'll be very interesting to see what happens today. Dow, much the same, just going into negative territory. And so is the Russell, back making lower lows, having tried to recover and found resistance on the chart. Looking at the futures, futures are down this morning, so it looks like we're in a short-term downtrend for a while. FTSE breaking its trend as well, just coming below on the daily chart and on the 250. The DAX bullish above the cloud in the medium and long term, but again taking a break through the cloud, as is the Nikkei, down 2% on that stronger yang. Hang Seng down 1%. Shanghai holding up the bullishness there, and Sensex also still holding its bullishness. The Australian market, quite a big sharp sell there, but we still have lots of upside targets, so it will be interesting to see if any of those get unwound. Now, the one we have talked about quite a bit lately is Brent crude, and this is starting to look pretty bearish. We're just taking up the low here. We're back below the cloud, so we're really seeing Brent undergoing quite a lot of downside potential here. We've got targets on Brent at 47.15, 48, 50, and 48.58. So we're seeing downside targets anywhere between 4 and 7% on Brent crude. And the fact that there's multiple downsides, multiple selling thrusts, that is giving us cause for concern. Take out this low of around 50.25 and that we saw just in early March, and that is that's pretty bad news. The fact is that Brent should be going up around this time of year. Crude oil should be rising. It's actually falling. Higher inventories, concerns being a big issue there in the US. And if we look at WTI, it already well below 50, making new lows here on the lagging line. We're seeing that pretty bearish below the cloud with lots of downside targets. So crude oil is now looking pretty bearish all around. Natural gas, US nat gas is holding up above the $3 level, not looking quite as bad, but the medium-term chart is still bearish. A very mixed picture there. Interesting to see what things like copper just going back down through the cloud, not quite through on the lagging line yet. If we look at cocoa, we're seeing here an improvement. A very mixed picture on various commodities here. We're seeing sugar below the cloud and wheat also below the cloud. Soft's still not looking great. Corn, again, back below the cloud. So we're seeing softs falling away there. Taking a look at gold, and all this bearishness just popping through in the last few days, very good for gold, and we're seeing good upside potential now in the gold market. We've got upside target here to 1293, that's 3.66% away, and it looks like we're going to take out that 1264 high that we saw just recently, and that was at the beginning of March. Looks like a strong recovery back to bullish above the cloud on the weekly, the daily, and the 60-minute. Gold starting to look pretty good all round, as is silver, with good strong upside targets here as well, as much as 7%. Bond markets, bonds rising on this weakness. We're seeing quite a sell-off here in the 10-year Treasury yield, 2.4%, and the US Treasury yield there. Apple still holding its bullishness. Inevitably, tech was hit pretty hard yesterday. Google has come back below the cloud, as has Amazon. Facebook holding on at the moment, big engulfing pattern candle there. Microsoft also moving back below the cloud, and Nvidia having had a strong day the day before, quite a sell-off yesterday. A quick look at the FTSE, inevitably very little up in the FTSE this morning. So we've only got 5 stocks up at the moment. Randgold Resources up 0.4%, BT Group, Unilever, Glaxo, SmithKline and SSE utility there. So, but bearish below the cloud. It's where we are on the cloud that really matters. Crude oil, amazingly, with that oil price, Royal Dutch Shell barely changed there. If we go to the laggards, really bad looking chart there for Kingfisher, hit resistance, bearish, 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 back below the cloud despite a short-term recovery attempt. Ashtead bearish, BHP Billiton unwinding. A lot of banks, Rio, Barclays, banks and resource stocks really are the ones that are hit today, so that's quite key. So we're just seeing quite a lot of turmoil in the short term playing through on the FTSE. That's it for today. Keep an eye on that US market. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.